State of Utah versus Tyler James Robinson. Could you state your name?
Tyler James Robinson.
This isn't just another crime story. This is the shocking killing of Charlie Kirk, a man whose name divided America. But the real question is, why did Tyler Robinson do it? Was it anger, ideology, or a complete mental breakdown? That's what we're unpacking, and I want you to share your thoughts in the comments, because this case demands open discussion.
The roommate. Police interviewed Robinson's roommate, a biological male who was involved in a romantic relationship with Robinson. The roommate told police that the roommate received messages from Robinson about the shooting, and he did provide those messages to police. On September 10th, 2025, the roommate received a text message from Robinson which said, "Drop what you're doing. Look under my keyboard." The roommate looked under the keyboard and found a note that stated, quote, "I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it." Police found a photograph of this note. The following text exchange, then took place. After reading the note, the roommate responded, "What? You're joking, right?" Robinson, "I am still okay, my love, but am stuck in Orem for a little while longer yet. Shouldn't be long until I can come home, but I gotta grab my rifle still. To be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age. I am sorry to involve you." Roommate, "You weren't the one who did it, right?" Robinson, I am. I'm sorry." Roommate, "I thought they caught the person." Robinson, "No, they grabbed some crazy old dude, then interrogated someone in similar clothing. I had planned to grab my rifle from my drop point shortly after, but most of that side of town got locked down. It's quiet, almost enough to get out, but there's one vehicle lingering." Roommate, "Why?" Robinson, "Why did I do it?" Roommate, "Yeah." Robinson, "I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. If I am able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence. Going to attempt to retrieve it again. Hopefully they have moved on. I haven't seen anything about them finding it." Roommate, "How long have you been planning this?" Robinson, "A bit over a week, I believe. I can get close to it, but there is a squad car parked right by it. I think they already swept that spot, but I don't want to chance it." Robinson again, "I'm wishing I had circled back and grabbed it as soon as I got to my vehicle. I'm worried what my old man would do if I didn't bring back Grandpa's rifle. IDEK if it's had a serial number, but it wouldn't trace to me. I worry about prints. I had to leave it in a bush where I changed outfits. Didn't have the ability or time to bring it with. I might have to abandon it and hope they don't find prints. How the F will I explain losing it to my old man? Only thing I left was the rifle wrapped in a towel. Remember how I was engraving bullets? The F in messages are mostly a big meme. If I see notice bulge UWU on Fox News, I might have a stroke all right. I'm going to have to leave it. That really effing sucks. Judging from today, I'd say Grandpa's gun does just fine, IDK. I think that was a $2K scope. Wink, wink. Robinson again, delete this exchange. Again, Robinson, my dad wants photos of the rifle. He says Grandpa wants to know who has what. The feds released a photo of the rifle, and it is very unique. He's calling me, RN, not answering. Robinson, since Trump got into office, my dad has been pretty diehard MAGA. Robinson, I'm going to turn myself in willingly. One of my neighbors here is a deputy for the sheriff. Again, you are all I worry about, love. That came from Robinson. Roommate, I'm much more worried about you. Robinson, don't talk to the media, please. Don't take any interviews or make any comments. If any police ask you questions, ask for a lawyer and stay silent.
Who was Tyler Robinson? Tyler James Robinson was 22. He grew up in a quiet town in Utah, with parents who worked in law enforcement and 2 younger brothers. Neighbors remembered him as smart, polite, and quiet, a boy who did well in school, earned strong test scores, and even took college courses while still in high school. After graduating in 2021, he enrolled in an electrical apprenticeship program. On paper, nothing seemed out of the ordinary. No arrests, no police reports. Even his voter registration showed him as unaffiliated, inactive, the kind of young man who hadn't even cast a ballot in recent elections. In many ways, he seemed invisible, not a radical, not a criminal, just another face in the crowd. But beneath that quiet exterior, change was happening. His family noticed a shift in his beliefs. Once politically neutral, Tyler began leaning leftward, showing outspoken support for gay and transgender rights. And this wasn't just abstract. He was in a romantic relationship with his roommate, a transgender woman in the process of transitioning. For friends, this relationship was more than companionship. It was a window into a new identity Tyler was building for himself. But alongside this transformation came signs of something darker. Investigators later uncovered messages where Tyler admitted he had, quote, had enough of Charlie Kirk's hatred. His private communications revealed disturbing steps of preparation, retrieving a rifle from a hidden drop point, engraving bullets with words and symbols, even planning how to hide clothing and dispose of the weapon. These weren't the acts of someone who suddenly snapped. They were deliberate, premeditated. When authorities searched further, they found bullet casings etched with strange messages, some political, some anti-fascist, others borrowed from the obscure corners of online meme culture. It was as if Tyler was blending ideology with performance, turning his rage into something symbolic, almost theatrical. And then came the collapse. After his arrest, officials placed him under suicide watch. He was given a prevention smock, confined in a high-security unit, after court records revealed he had expressed a desire to end his own life. What started as anger and obsession seemed to end in despair. So who was Tyler Robinson? Not a hardened criminal. Not an obvious extremist on paper. He was a young man with no record, a shifting ideology, a new identity, and a mind spiraling into dangerous obsession. The warning signs were scattered, in private messages, online posts, and bullets engraved with rage. And when they finally converged, they exploded into the killing of Charlie Kirk. Who was Charlie Kirk? Charlie Kirk wasn't just another commentator. He was a force in American conservative politics. Born in 1993 and raised in the suburbs of Chicago, Kirk gained national attention at a young age. By just 18, he had founded Turning Point USA, a non-profit organization focused on mobilizing conservative students on college campuses. What started as a small operation grew into a powerful network with chapters across the country. He became a regular speaker at conferences, a best-selling author, and a fixture on cable news, podcasts, and social media. To his supporters, Kirk was a voice of clarity in a polarized age. He spoke unapologetically against what he called woke culture, pushed back against progressive policies, and argued for limited government, strong borders, and traditional values. For many conservatives, especially younger ones, he embodied the idea that the right could fight back on cultural battlegrounds long dominated by the left. That made him not just a political figure, but a symbol of resistance, a rallying point. But influence comes with its shadows. For critics, Kirk represented something far different. They saw him as combative, polarizing, and often dismissive of marginalized groups. His comments on issues like race, gender, immigration, and LGBTQ+ rights sparked protests on campuses and firestorms online. What his supporters praised as bravery, his opponents condemned as hate. And that tension, admiration on one side, outrage on the other, made him one of the most divisive public figures of his generation. Charlie Kirk's presence was unavoidable. With millions of followers online and appearances on national platforms, he carried influence far beyond his age. To some, he gave a sense of belonging. To others, he represented everything wrong with modern conservatism. That divide is what made him powerful, but also what made him a target. Because in today's America, influence isn't neutral, it inspires, and it provokes. And in Kirk's case, it would ultimately draw deadly consequences. The encounter and the crime. On the morning of September 5, 2025, two very different lives collided. Charlie Kirk, public speaker, political influencer, conservative icon, had traveled to Salt Lake City, Utah, for a scheduled appearance at a Turning Point USA campus event. For him, it was routine, a speech, a Q&A, a chance to energize a conservative student base. But for Tyler Robinson, this wasn't routine. Investigators now say he had been preparing for this day. Texts and digital records show he retrieved a rifle from a hidden drop point, carefully engraved bullets with political and internet-inspired messages, and mapped out his steps. To friends, he sent angry messages about Kirk's hatred. To his roommate, a transgender woman, he hinted at a plan that sounded less like a protest and more like a mission. Witnesses recall the scene unfolding fast. Outside the venue, security was in place, but the crowd was typical: students, supporters, even some protesters. In that crowd was Robinson. Just after 6 p.m., as Kirk exited the building surrounded by staffers and attendees, the silence was broken. Shots rang out. Panic spread instantly, screams, people ducking for cover, others running blind in fear. Kirk was hit multiple times. Security and police rushed, but the damage was catastrophic. Within minutes, paramedics confirmed what many feared: Charlie Kirk was dead at just 32 years old. The gunman didn't flee far. Robinson was quickly confronted by officers near the scene. Records show he initially resisted, then surrendered. In his possession, the rifle, additional ammunition, and casings marked with strange inscriptions, some political slogans, others cryptic phrases pulled from obscure online corners. To investigators, it looked less like random violence and more like a planned, symbolic act of assassination. What happened in those few seconds outside that building wasn't just the death of one man, it was the collision of two worlds. A young man, consumed by ideology and anger, and a political figure whose influence had made him a lightning rod. Their encounter lasted only moments, but its impact rippled nationwide. Was it ideology or mental breakdown? After Tyler Robinson's arrest, the question loomed: why? Was this political? Was it personal? Or was it the unraveling of a troubled mind? On one hand, the evidence of ideology is hard to ignore. His family noted that over the past year, his political leanings shifted left. He expressed support for LGBTQ+ rights, he spoke against what he called hatred in conservative rhetoric, and most damning of all, he engraved bullets with political messages. In text messages, he wrote he had, quote, had enough of Kirk's hatred. To many, this points to ideology, a young man radicalized, turning anger into political violence. But there's another layer. Robinson had no criminal record, no history of violence, nothing to suggest he was dangerous, until recently. Court filings and jail records show he was placed on suicide watch immediately after the shooting. Friends and investigators uncovered messages where he spoke of wanting to die. This wasn't the confidence of a hardened extremist, it was the language of a young man in collapse. His careful planning may look ideological, but it may also reflect a mind unraveling under the weight of obsession and despair. And yet, personal motives linger in the background too. Robinson was in a relationship with a transgender roommate, a relationship tied closely to his new political and personal identity. To him, Kirk may not have just been a political opponent. He may have symbolized rejection, hatred, or even a personal threat to the life Tyler was trying to build. If so, this wasn't only about politics or mental illness, it was deeply personal. So what drove Tyler Robinson? Was it ideology, carefully shaped online? Was it untreated mental illness, spiraling into violence? Or was it something more intimate, The collision of his new identity with the figure he saw as its enemy? Investigators, courts, and commentators will continue to debate. But ultimately, the answer may never fit neatly into one box. And maybe that's the most unsettling part. Closing and open discussion. Charlie Kirk's death wasn't just the loss of a husband, a father, a son, and a political voice. It was a chilling reminder of how quickly words, ideology, or even fractured minds can spiral into violence. Was this the act of a man consumed by political hatred? Or the breakdown of someone already on the edge, whose pain turned deadly? Perhaps it was both, ideology fueling instability. One thing is certain: once a life is taken, it can never be returned. This case forces us to confront hard questions. Are we safe in a society where politics can spark murder? Where disagreement can end with a bullet instead of debate? And most importantly, how do we prevent more families from being shattered like this? I want to hear from you. What do you think really pushed Tyler Robinson to pull that trigger? Was this political, personal, or psychological? Let's talk about it in the comments below. Your voice matters here.